I'm going to go straight across to my guests now who are joining us this evening. Dilip Chinoy is a former Secretary General of FICCI, also a former DG of SIAM. Anurag Kulukshetra, he's the founder president, Tracks Road Safety. It's an NGO. Tutu Dhawan is an auto safety expert, a known face on television. And we have Vipul Ahuja, who's a structural engineer and director at Ahuja Consultants Pvt Ltd. Dilip Chinoy, I'm coming to you first. The government of India has not implemented it yet, but is looking to increase the speed limit, at least on expressways and highways. Should they simply drop that idea and decrease speed limits? I come to you with this question simply because if you look at what is happening around the world, there is a trend, at least in roads within cities, Paris, etc., across Europe, where speed limits have decreased. In fact, I have an example from Brazil, Sao Paulo. In 2015, they reduced the speed limit on highways from 90 kilometers per hour to 70 kilometers per hour, and that resulted in a reduction in road crashes by 21.7%. There is enough data telling us that there is a direct correlation between speeding and fatalities on the road. Why are we then looking at increasing speed limits instead of decreasing them?
So, Shreya, I think, the Brazil example, the other example, and the global example of reduction of speed limits, we need to actually understand, there are two different contexts that they're talking about. One is urban context, right? In fact, Netherlands has an urban speed limit of 30, right?
Paris as well, 30.
Yeah. In parts of India, in parts of urban, dense urban areas, the speed limit is also 30. The average speed limit, what you are referring to, the urban speed limit, the average speed limit is actually 50. Now, on highways and expressways, the speed limit is around 120, 100 to 120. Right? Now, the challenge here is that as the roads get better and the vehicles get better, if you don't have an optimum speed, and I'm not saying that you need to increase the speed limit, but I'm saying the thinking behind determining a speed limit is that if you don't have an optimum speed, then there is the return on investment or the actual use and the benefit of creating those expressways and highways will not accrue to the country. Yes, speeding, it does cause accidents, but accidents are not purely on speed alone, because the driver and the driver behavior is also related to accidents. The debate, as Supriya said, we need to have a debate, get all the stakeholders consulted to look at how we need to approach this speed limits in expressway and national highways and in urban centers. I think the thought behind, earlier the national highways and expressways had a speed limit of 70. It actually was not correct, right? Because the second point which I want to make is that you might have a speed limit, but if the speed limit is not enforced, then there is a challenge. And as like Supriya ji said very, very clearly, that if you're supposed to have or follow certain behavior like wear rear seat belts, wear seat belts, or wear helmets, if you don't follow it and if it's not enforced, then that's the real challenge, and that's what leads to death.
Dilip, what you're telling me then is that it's simply not economical to reduce the speed limit for a country that is speeding ahead. Is that what you're telling me? Because,
no, I'm saying the appropriate speed. If you want to reduce the travel time between, or the cargo time or time between Delhi and Bombay to a certain extent, and you build a road that is going to facilitate that. And if you suddenly put a speed limit which takes you back to the original time taken to travel between Delhi and Bombay, you can draw your own inferences.
But if there is a crash, all the money is down the drain.
The crash is not due to only speed. Please understand.
But sir, 60% data is showing us, Mr. Chinoy, sorry to interrupt you, data is showing us that 60% of all crashes happen because of speeding. This is NCRB data.
Speeding in urban, speeding on highways. So the data also needs to be integrated. And speeding itself, you've got to be clear. Driver behavior and speed are two integrated things. I might be a good driver, and I can manage high speed. I may be another driver, but I can't even manage 60. So it's a different thing. I think speed limits are not the only thing. It's a whole thing about driver behavior, safety, and it's a whole ecosystem to be looked at, and including blind spots, as was mentioned by Supriya.
Anurag, do you agree with what Dr. Dilip Chenoy is telling us?
No, I'm certainly agree because speeding, like till now, we don't have the proper mechanism to judge or to supervise or to investigate the proper accidents. Till now, we don't have the mechanism. Yes, in this case also, I am sure, and I'm very much confident. I'll show you the design of this particular stretch of like 100 meters only.
No,
This
so
road is completely designed wrong.
I just want to give context to our viewers. Here you're talking about that Palghar stretch on which Mr. Mistry's car met with an accident. Okay, go ahead. You are saying it may not necessarily be a case of speeding. You're saying there is a problem with the design of the road as well. Is that what you're pointing out to?
100%. This is a design fault at this particular spot. I'll show you the diagram. This, if you can see, is it available to you? Can you see this?
Okay, go ahead. Try. Okay, now it is. We see it now. Yeah.
Okay. If you'll see this white line, this is the original design of the roads. Is this particular stretch? This yellow area is where the accident spot, and this two red lines. This must be the proper design of the road. You can see the deviation in the road to this white line. There's a certain deviation like S shape. It is the cause of the accident because you cannot provide such type of deviation in the S shape or double S shape on highways where the speed is 100 or 120. Because that is the only reason. If you can see, this is a bridge.
Okay.
Bridge start here. And there is a sudden deviation at even the corner of this bridge. And after this, you can see the white line. It's above the red line. There is a S type of deviation.
Okay, I understand. Essentially,
that is the reason of this cause.
Okay.
And if you'll see in the starting, I'll show you this. At this place also, there is a diversion in between the two lanes. One is from 3, one is a 2 lanes, and another is a 1 lane. It's a just 50 meter deviation, diversion. On highways, it must be 150 meters prior to the divider. So that is also the biggest cause of this design.
Okay.
And it is just 100 meters before this bridge.
Okay, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. What you're saying is that you're making speeding the villain in this case, but the villain may not be necessarily speeding. There is a structural problem with that stretch at Palghar on the highway as well. I get what you're saying, but Tutu Dhawan, as an auto safety expert, the point, we deviated a bit here, but I think it was important to let Mr. Anurag have his say because he's making an important point about the investigations that are currently on as far as the death of Mr. Cyrus Mistry is concerned. But, keeping aside what he's saying, in a country like India, where in any case people don't follow rules, will not even wear seat belts, is it wise for the government of India to try and increase the speed limits in this country? There is one set of data. Tutu Dhawan, I wonder.
Honestly speaking,
yeah, go ahead.
I think I tend to agree with both our panelists who have just said about speed. It's basically the design of our roads which is antique now, and we are not trying to improve it, keeping in mind that our cars are becoming faster, our roads are becoming quicker, and we don't have any safety features on the road like AMCO barriers and, conditions where you can't have cattle running across and human beings running across the road. There has to be, and I don't think it's right to be comparing our road conditions with abroad. And when you are talking about, speed limits having been cut down in Paris and in other places, That's a different ball game totally. We as Indians especially, we are indisciplined. We do not want to follow the rule, and we always try to find a shortcut to be able to, circumvent the rules. And on top of that, we are so confident that even if we get stopped by the law, we will get around it. So there is no issue. So this is the basic issue that we are having. Now, as far as the rear seat belt is concerned, this law came into force in 2002. And it has not been implemented strongly by either the authorities or even, in schools and colleges where they claim to be educating children for safety and so on.
Okay. Vipul Ahuja, are you on the same side as well? That, I would imagine that given what data is showing us, the data is showing us from all over the world that even if you reduce speeds by 5%, the number of car crashes actually goes down by 30%. This is what data is telling us. Yet in the face of this data, yet in the face of the numbers that come to you every year from the NCRB, is it wise at all to try and increase the speed limits on expressways and highways instead of decreasing them? Because, for example, France, I just want to give you the example of France. I'm not talking about Paris here, but on the highways, they did decrease the speed to 70 and then, hiked it up back to 90 kilometers per hour once again.
So I think my perspective as a technical person is quite different. I believe that the branch known as transportation engineering taught as a part of the civil engineering curriculum, and then there is a specialization in transportation engineering. And transportation engineers are trained to design highways, roads, etc. The planning part. I'm not talking about the design part, which is the pavement itself, but the layout, and which comprises, how many lanes, what is the transition curvature, how much is the slope of the road. So on a curve, the vehicle won't fly away, and so on. So and for what traffic density, what is the for that kind of a number of lanes, what is the optimum speed at which there will be no accidents. So that kind of a scientific study is required for every situation, and this is not a hip shot kind of a decision to be taken by politicians, by people who are novices and do not have an understanding of transportation engineering to comment upon. And this is the genesis. Actually, all safety related professions of engineering and other areas like medicine and all, of course, require licensing and regulation on the practicing community. And this is a consumer affairs issue. There needs to be a formal competence-based licensing regime, and this is prevalent in the West. When a country like the US or maybe France or someone says that they've reduced the speed uniformly by 5%, that to begin with, the highway was designed for a certain speed. I don't know that the designing here started with a certain number in mind, or even if it did, that they actually implemented all the stretches of the road, for that particular speed.
Okay.
Apart from that, there has to be a lower limit and an upper limit for the freeway to operate safely.
Okay.
People, if 112 is the upper limit, then the lower limit may be 90. Now, if you have tractors, trolleys also plying on the same road, or scooters, two-wheelers, whatever, three-wheelers, also come in on the same road, there has got to be an accident. You know, there you are asking for an accident. If the curves in the road are not properly designed, then you are asking for accidents.
Are you saying,
One
I very
part
quickly,
is
Vipulji, are
there
you
are
saying, Vipulji, are you saying that the highways in our country are not well designed, that this Mumbai-Ahmedabad highway is not well designed? Because a lot of commuters who, you know, drive
you
through
just pointed out, the gentleman just showed with a sketch. There's some, there's these trivial things, and there's some crossovers over there or narrowing of lanes, and there's not sufficient, notice the drivers to slow down in
Okay,
that.
but you know, Mr. Gadkari is saying that now expressways are such, the expressways that have been built are such that not even a dog can come there. So accident ka to kya sawal uthta hai, but just
No,
this highway.
but the slow running traffic, there's no challenge for slow driving. You know, there's challenge for high speed driving, but there's no challenge for low speed driving. So I mean, we have to, the transportation engineer has to keep both things in mind, and they specify the speed for that particular highway.
Okay.
Regardless of how it's been designed.
And just in numbers,
Finally, there has to be an
in
audit.
the last 2 years, you've had 100 deaths on the Mumbai-Ahmedabad highway. The Mumbai-Pune highway, I think it was some 172, but certainly not the deadliest highways in India. There are highways which perform worse.
And the funniest part is there are, there are boards stuck up on the roads, placards which show accident-prone area. I mean, there's no better admission of guilt by the authorities that they haven't designed this road stretch properly.
Okay, so Dilip, the point that a technical person on this panel is making is that our highways are not designed well enough, so don't just blame speeding. I quickly want to come to you because, you're a former DG of Siam. Luxury cars, for example, the one that Mr. Mistry was driving, it was a Mercedes. It has world-class features. Do luxury cars, fast cars, high-end cars with top-end security features lull you into a false sense of security? Ki kitna bhi tez chala lo, we are protected because we've paid that much money, and the safety security features will keep us safe irrespective of what happens.
No, Shreya, I don't think that's the case. I believe that the data that you were referring to and the accidents that you were referring to, the people were traveling over the speed limit. It's not necessarily that they were traveling within the speed limit, and speed limit actually caused that accident, because by definition, speeding data would be over the speed limit, right? I think that the challenge here is that if you have a car, the capability of the car, it depends on your individual behavior. And therefore, when I made my opening comment, I said a lot depends, and we need to change individual behavior. Individual behavior that needs to be changed. I was greatly impressed, and I hats off to Supriya Sule for being so candid, for admitting first that she did not follow safety procedures, and now saying that she will do that. I think these and earlier Mr. Munde's similar death in without wearing a seatbelt. I think these are all signals that we should become more conscious. We should follow all safety rules. Yes, if you're in a good car which has safety features, let's not go over the speed limit. Let's stick to the speed limit. Let's drive cautiously. Let's drive sensibly. Yeah, if the road design and other designs are there, that we need to also factor in going in. I think you'll see this happen gradually, and of course the UN has also put out a target of zero fatalities by 2050.
Correct.
Kind of a target. So I think we all should work towards that and just increase awareness and just spread and try and get compliance. Use technology to enforce compliance.
Can car manufacturers do more? The cars people are buying, and these are the figures that are coming in, the cars people are buying in India are way more expensive than they used to be 5 or 10 years ago. People are willing to spend on their cars. They want bigger cars. They don't necessarily want smaller cars. Can car manufacturers do anything to make passengers more safe on the roads?
So I think, car manufacturers, try and do, I think, in fact, many manufacturers, car manufacturers have used safety of their cars as a USP, whether it's an NCAP rating or whether it's the number of airbags, and other such things. But it's quite funny. I was reading a lot about this in the papers, and even someone was commenting yesterday that ingenious people actually get ways of getting over even the front alarm on the seatbelt. I think the minister himself said it by just putting in the device inside there. So I think in addition to the car manufacturers and all putting safety features in their vehicles, the biggest thing is the drivers and creating a social awareness amongst everybody. And I think the media also can actually contribute a lot to that. And that's what's going to change. We need to change social behavior, get everybody following the rules, and then increase enforcement and use technology.
Okay. Dilip Chenoy, good to have you on the show here. Thank you very much. Anuragji, thank you very much. Tutu Dhawan, thank you very much for joining us. And Vipul Ahuja, thank you very much for your time as well. This is a story that has been a cautionary tale, a wake-up call for many, many of us. Hopefully some lessons have been learned. We are shifting our focus now.